the solution. Okay, so it's just a tool so that we can easily implement or at least identify what will be the problems that you want to target and how to address them best. Okay, so I had to refresh my memory about the goal or the SDG on zero hunger and the specific targets, which made me more nervous about the presentation. So I go, hala, end hunger and all forms of malnutrition, ensure access to nutritious food, improve agricultural productivity. So trying to make the connection is with ICT is not that easy. Okay? But if we do it one step at a time, if we look at the root causes, if we look at the specific factors and try to link it here, we won't be able to solve it in a year. Not even, I don't even think that we can solve it in the next 5 years. This will take time. Okay? But as long as there will be people like you who will have the best ideas to try to address this issue on zero hunger or even the rest of the SDGs. So we have a future to look forward to. And doing this also, naka-throwback Thursday ako on this show, a cartoon show that I was watching before. So, 90s kid here. So the Jetsons. I recently learned na 1960s pala yung cartoon. But it was aired during the 90s. So their vision was sometime in year 2060. Okay? So they presented different technologies, even yung concept of video conferencing. They already thought of that in 1960. Okay? So if it was something as easy as this, okay, creating a machine that will just produce food in the single click of a button. Okay? So it's something that we just wish, and then voila, we have food on the table automatically. Okay? So, but this is not the reality that we have now. Okay? So something that we have now is much more simpler, and yet we try to address a bigger problem. Okay? So as mentioned already a while ago, when we talk about zero hunger, the first solution that comes to mind will be feeding program. Okay? So it may sound simple, but there's a lot to just having a feeding program. So there are many questions that can be addressed here. How many are affected? Okay, so we already have statistics on this. Who needs to be involved? Okay, so aside from just the children who need to, or who can benefit from the program. Okay, so is it just those who have the money to make the feeding program, or those who have to be involved in this initiative? What other resources and skills are needed? Was the program sufficient or effective? So I think yung this part, effectiveness of the programs, evaluating the programs that we have is something that needs to be worked on also. Because as mentioned, we keep doing these programs year in, year out, kahit magbago yung administration, kahit magbago yung LGU leaders, but we don't see a significant change in the statistics or significant change in the problem. Okay, so, but do we take time to evaluate whether the programs are sufficient or effective? And we should not take the factors not only surrounding the feeding program. There might be other problems that lead to the ineffectiveness of the program or other problems that affect the program. So other factors that affect the implementation of the program, and also looking at the opportunity of involving others. Okay? So looking at how the program can benefit from the involvement of others, or if we can produce synergy out of combined or collaborative efforts. Okay, so it's easy to say or to think about all of these things. But as mentioned by Dr. Sherwin, once we try to do them or try to think of the next step, dun na siya medyo nagiging challenging. Okay? Sorry. Okay, so but this is where ICT comes in. Okay? So we can think about the use of ICT in its simplest, or in the simplest way. So you don't think about the technology itself, but you think about what the technology can do given the data or the information that you have. And we all have that. It's there. It just depends on us on what we do with the information. Okay? So in terms of collecting the data, for example, generating the reports. So some of most barangays have difficulty in doing this because of the nature of the data. It's manual, it's handwritten. With technology, you can hasten the process of collecting data. We can look at how ICTs can help organize the data. The simple use of Excel to tabulate data already helps. Okay? And then I think among all of these, the important part of processing the data. Okay? So it's not just processing per se, collecting or identifying totals or summaries, generating graphs or reports. It's also choosing or involves choosing which data is most relevant to us. Okay. Then there's also storing. In what forms do we store them so that later on it can also be accessed by majority of the stakeholders or whoever will benefit the most from the data. Then presentation of the data in the most appropriate way would also be important. Okay. Just imagine seeing data in Excel in tabular form as compared to seeing it in a graphical form. Okay. So the difference that it can make or that it can have on the decisions made by different levels of managers would be great. Okay, so just imagine if you'll be able to generate insights coming from the reports or the graphs that you present. And then also, something that we also sometimes tend to forget, sharing or distributing the data. So sometimes we have the data in place, we may have the basic technologies in place to process the data, to store it, present it beautifully, but if we don't share it with other stakeholders who can help us, then our efforts, or parang sayang lang yung efforts on doing that. Okay? So making others aware or informed about the data that you have, or reports and insights that you were able to generate is as important as the rest of the information or data lifecycle. Okay. So we can see the role of technology here. But aside from that, we have to ensure that the data that we collect or information that we collect is of good quality. So the technologies that we have now also allow us to ensure that we have good quality information. So from the relevance, accuracy, making sure that it's timely or still up to date, still useful, consistency of the format so that it can be used by different systems or different platforms, compatibility, and even the concern now on information security or data privacy. So bottom line of using ICTs is to enable the different players in the ecosystem. Okay, so I'm generalizing the zero hunger ecosystem. So from producers to the farmers, processors, traders, retailers, and consumers. Okay, so things that the other important players that we don't see here and sometimes are neglected are educators. The role of educators in ensuring literacy. So we can have good programs, but we also have to make the beneficiaries realize why these programs are important or why we need to implement these programs. So a matter of disseminating information to the general public, whether in school or outside school, is very important. The research community definitely has an important role here, from looking at techniques to improve agricultural productivity, to looking at cultural factors that affect malnutrition and hunger, to addressing climate change. So we also have other stakeholders that are able to provide opportunities to other players in the ecosystem, like farmers, the barangay health workers, the educators, etc. And then, of course, the involvement of the public sector in the regulation and improvement of the different situations in their local settings. Now, going to the current and future technology trends. So what do we have now, and how can we use them now? So the most evident would be still the use of mobile technologies and social media. Okay. So I think in the 2019 statistics by Social, Philippines is still at the top in terms of mobile and social media use. So there's an increasing number now of users who use their mobile phones to access the internet or to connect to the internet. So we can think of that as an easy way to reach the people that we need. Okay? So this is regardless of where they are in the ecosystem. So whether they are the beneficiaries or parents of the children who have who are malnourished, or even those who have the resources to implement the programs. So you can even think of this and look at the power of the hashtag. So if you're concerned about promoting the advocacy or promote sharing information, so it's not just making the Philippines popular through a worldwide trending hashtag, but also making others aware of the current situation in the country. Then this was also mentioned, data analytics, big data, and the science of analyzing raw data in order to make conclusions about that information, drive decisions, and perform actions. So as soon as we collect data, we also want to implement relevant programs as soon as possible. Okay, so to make sure that such programs are relevant. And we cannot do that on our own capacities as people. So we have limited processing power given the volume of data that we have to process. So we have existing technologies now that allow us to do this. Okay? So even data analytics can help researchers like you to determine what, for example, what aspects of hunger are these tapped. And then we also have sharing economy. So sharing of resources, sharing of information, sharing of expertise. So this came from the concept of crowdsourcing, simple concept of crowdsourcing or crowdfunding. Although in crowdsourcing, medyo ano siya, reactive. So somebody will request for a service or will request for expertise, and those who know of or who can recommend a person or an expert, or if they themselves are experts, they respond to the request, or they respond to the person looking for a recommendation. So I think you can do this now in Facebook. So that's crowdsourcing. In sharing economy, it's more proactive. So you know that you have resources that you can share, and you know that people will benefit from the use of the same resource, or if you share the same resource, you have mutual benefits in doing that. So Grab is an example of business that uses a sharing economy model. So resources that it shares would be its vehicles. So now not only for transporting people, but for transporting food, transporting anything that you need to be transported from location A to location B. So just imagine how you can use the concept of resource sharing in resources that will benefit or that will aid in eliminating hunger. And then we also have the rise of the fourth industrial revolution, or the blurring of lines between technology, humans, or the physical and biological environment. So if you have heard of this ubiquitous computing, so it's something like that. So you don't anymore notice that technology is there. So it becomes part of our life. So this is the nature of the fourth industrial revolution. So Internet of Things will come into play, and all other technologies that we see here. So in the near future, these are the technology trends that are seen to prevail, at least in the corporate industry. Okay, so but we're not limited to the use of these technologies that in just or in that aspect only. That's why we do research. We try to contextualize technologies and how we can also benefit from these in other domains or in other fields. That's why I like ICT as a topic for research, because it's something that you can easily mix or put in regardless of the topic or regardless of the domain. Because ICT, as I mentioned earlier, again, is a tool that will enable solutions in different areas. Now for the challenges. I think some of these were also already mentioned, since we're looking at research also as a context. Okay? So it's a challenge to determine which problems and opportunities to address first. So I think you'll be doing this as part of your workshop later on. So determining problems and opportunities. Since we're talking about ICT, so if you target the use of ICT, which ones or which one among these would be solvable by an ICT solution? Okay. So we also don't want the use of ICTs to be an overkill. Na simple problem lang, gagamitan mo ng decision support system agad. Or gagamitan mo ng data analytics because it's a buzzword. Or kasi maganda pakinggan. Okay? So, but if it will take time, for example, you have to think about resources or people that you will take, time it will take to build the system, etc. And the immediacy of addressing the problem at hand. Then after that, you identify, design, and develop solutions. So you don't necessarily have to develop solutions from scratch. So we can benefit from existing solutions that are already there. For example, data analytics, simple use of Excel. There are already built-in analytics functions in Excel or in Google Sheets. So just by using that, so if you're able to migrate your data from the paper forms into an electronic version or computerized version, that will really help you a lot. Okay? So when you identify, design, and develop, you also think of the context where the technology will be used and the users of the technology. Then next, you have to be concerned about technology access and adoption. So that's why I mentioned about thinking of the users of the technology. So it may be the best solution, or it may be a good solution for the problem or the opportunity, but it might not be accessible to all. Or it might take time for the general public to adopt that particular model or process of technology use. So you think about basic literacy on the use of technology, cost of the technology, etc. Then of course, sustaining the use of the technology. So to make sure that it's not just a one-time, big-time thing. It will just exist for a year, then after a year it becomes obsolete or it becomes irrelevant. So the use of the technology, or the technology in itself, given that it's a tool to address a solution, should be able to change or adapt to the current context or the current situation. So with all of this, so I think bottom line is ensuring literacy. So knowledge about these different aspects and the capabilities of technologies, the users, and the context where they will be